Every life is a story. You're a story, and that means your story has chapters. And the story you're about to hear is about a great man, an interesting man, retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Alan Buhler. Okay, so here we have a guy who grows up in a rural area, heats the house with sawdust. Interesting. In a mill in Oregon. And then shortly thereafter, along his winding path, he is in the White House where he bumps into Spiro Agnew, the presidents, Nixon and Ford, a piece of history. And then as part of the Strategic Air Command, he does not have his hand on the button, as they would call it. But you know what? In that whole system, there's a whole series of fingers poised over a series of buttons that mean, well, just think about that. Think of the stress that is involved in that job. It's a fascinating story. It's a fascinating conversation. Please hit like and subscribe. We do these conversations all the time with fascinating, interesting people. Nobody more interesting than Lieutenant Colonel Alan Buhler, and that's why I like that story. I'm Jeff Gould, America's Storyteller. Welcome to our latest interview. You can't live everywhere. You can only live your life. But to pick the brain of somebody who has led an amazing life, well, it's just kind of amazing. Growing up in a small town where you heat your house with sawdust, a two-room schoolhouse. Nobody does that anymore. You know what a B-52 is? No, not the group. What about the plane? What is that like? Did you ever spend time in the White House? I haven't. This guy has. So we're going to talk to Alan, and you're going to find it fascinating. I'll give you the official bio, and then we'll dive right in. Raised in rural Oregon, educated in a two-room schoolhouse, Alan Buhler began working at the age of 10, has embodied service and dedication throughout his life. As I said, in the Air Force, served at the White House under Nixon and Ford, worked with the Joint Chiefs of Staff at the Pentagon, flew aboard a Strategic Air Command Looking Glass Airborne Command Post, and completed assignments around the world. After his service, he taught middle school students a number of different things. He is a widower, a father of 2, grandfather of 4, 10-year survivor of cancer, a lifetime of wisdom, resilience, faith, and perspective. That's our conversation today. Are we ready?
Wow, I'd like to know that guy.
Yeah, so, did you hear the drum roll? We got to get some staging in here, right?
I don't get a countdown, though, do I?
No, we're right in. Let's go. All right. So I'll call you Alan because
Sure,
I feel
fine.
like you're a guy to know. And I'm just going to, we can go a lot of different directions. But as I said in past interviews, a lot of times I ask questions and nobody gets a chance to get even. At the end of our conversation, you will be allowed to ask me one question and one question only. So you got to think about that, Alan. We're going to get that to the end. But I want to dive in with some good questions. I want to get to the Jeopardy question. But before I get to that, in the basement of this house, there's a room that back in the day, you'd open the chute and they'd dump coal in, and that was for the furnace. You grew up in Oregon, and they did the same thing with sawdust.
Correct.
Talk about that.
We had a area behind our garage, and they would bring a truck in or a trailer or whatever, and they would throw just a whole pile of sawdust, and we would have to then take it from there, throw it through the chute that you were talking about into a back room in our basement. And then from there, we would take that and put it in a bucket and put it in a big chute that was, if you can remember the old big flue on the trains, okay, that were the coal-fired trains. Well, this chute was like those. You'd put it in there, and then it would just burn from the bottom.
And your job, was it to stoke the stove?
I was when I was old enough to put the bucket up to the top of the receiver, yes, that was my job.
How many buckets of sawdust heat a house in a day?
Oh man, probably a dozen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
My mom used to get so mad at us because we'd come in with sawdust all over our clothes and walk through the house, and then she'd have to clean, you know.
Right. You talked about playing in the sawdust room, which sounds like a lot of fun, unless you're the mom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So, what's it smell like? Does it smell like a sawdust fire? Does it smell like a regular wood fire?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Did your dad work in the mills?
At a time when he first came out of the service, yes, he did. He was.
I had a chance to drive down the seacoast in Oregon, and I was fascinated because there was enormous, huge 50-acre slabs of concrete, just empty. And I asked the guy, "What's with this?" And he said, "Oh, those used to be mills, and now there was like 3. There used to be like 50. Now there was 3."
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought that was sad.
The wood industry really kind of died with the owls out there. They had an owl that lived in the old growth forest, and they said you can't log anymore. So
this is the spotted owl, if I remember
the
right.
old spotted owl. That's correct.
Your Jeopardy question, I send you this as a way to start. So let's, what's our question today?
Oh, I've looked, there's a lot of them on here that are just wonderful.
Why, thank you.
I'm
sorry, in case people didn't hear that again, could you repeat that part?
They're wonderful questions, Jeff. I'm going to go with the favorite verse these days. Okay.
Okay. Yes. So that is biblical banter.
That's
for
correct.
200. What is your favorite verse these days?
Well, I would have to say my favorite chapter, and that's Psalm 139. And it always said, and his love endures forever. And it says that, I don't know, 25 times through there. So that would be it, because no matter what your situation, his love endures forever. I can't get much better than that.
Yeah, that's a big psalm. Takes up a lot of spaces. If I remember right, each section is for like a letter in their Jewish alphabet, if I remember right, something like that. So it's like a whole bunch of sections, and A is for Abel, and B is for all of that stuff.
Sure.
I talking to a dentist about a year ago who said something that I never thought about, but it speaks to love enduring forever. Paul says there is faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. And the dentist said that's because hope and faith will not endure forever because we won't need them, right?
That's
How
exactly
interesting.
Right.
So you hope in this world, you have faith in this world. Those will not be necessary in heaven, but the love endures forever. I just love that comment he had.
Yeah, our current sermon series is on Hebrews. And this last week they were talking about faith, and they had Elijah, they had Abraham, and Noah. And the line that I took out of that was, faith swings a hammer. So you can have faith, but you got to do something with it. So Noah did something with it. He swung a hammer, made his ark. So I thought that was very interesting.
Did you live a life of faith your whole life, or how have you?
Yes, I grew up Mennonite Brethren, which is kind of an offshoot of the old Mennonites, so I've been around the faith ever since. I've been a Baptist. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a town near us called Menno, named after the Mennonites.
Yep.
And I knew a person who grew up in that, and she said that when they would pray, they would, at dinner, they would kneel next to their chairs and pray using their chairs. Is that familiar to you?
No, that was part of the old Mennonite traditions. Mine was Mennonite Brethren, which, according to the Mennonites, we were very progressive. so, so anyway,
So you'd play cards occasionally. Is that what I'm
yeah,
hearing? Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And,
What made you what made you get into the military?
kind of strange situation. If you will remember, or maybe you won't, that when the Vietnam War was happening, they had a draft and they had a lottery. And the lottery, they would pull dates out of a hat and they would put that up on a board, and they'd have 366 different sequence. Well, my number was 11. I was the 11th one called. And so I knew that I was kind of at the top of the list for going. I was in school at the time, and so I got a deferment to finish my my degree. I was a secondary education teacher, and so I finished my degree, 4-year degree, and the same day that I got my notice from the college that I was able to graduate, I also got the same mail, my deferment canceled. So,
they could do that. I didn't know that they could do that.
yep.
So they said, thanks, appreciate you trying to defer, but we'll take you anyway. Is that right?
Yeah.
Your
And
plan
then
was to teach a high school. What did you want to teach?
I had social studies. I had poli-sci. I had math. Math was kind of my focus. So
you
later
wanted to
on,
be a high school math teacher. The college says, congratulations, Mr. Buhler. Well, you've been accepted. And then you get another letter, which I feel like trumps the first one. Okay, you lay that down. Be like Uncle Sam called. Son, why don't you come on over? We need you. So you're about, now it's so interesting to the time and place. I'm going to say you're about 6 months older than my older brother.
Okay.
Whose draft number was 3 in the lottery.
Wow. Okay.
But he wanted to go to medical school and did, and became a doctor. And I guess they allowed that. So he must have just been enough younger than you that his card trumped the government. And I don't think he was ever, I think they shut down the draft just before he got in.
Yeah.
Just before he got in.
Yeah. I was actually listed as 4F.
Which means?
Which is not qualified for service because I was too big.
By that, you mean, what do you mean? Heavy? You mean overweight? What do you mean?
Too heavy, yes. Yeah. Okay. I was always I want to say a large kid.
Mm-hmm. How tall?
I'm 6'1", and I was, I don't know, over 260 maybe. And that just wouldn't qualify. So I lost weight, went in and took my physical again and qualified. So then.
Okay, now wait a second. Now part of you says, listen, I don't want to go into the military. Why don't I just keep the pounds on? Was that part of the decision? Or did you say, well,
yes.
If they asked, I better go?
Nope. I said to myself, I don't want to be the one who was too fat to get in the service.
Interesting.
So lost the weight.
Yeah. And do you, and so you look at life just being a series of forks in the road.
Yeah.
That was a major fork in the road.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a good turn for you? I mean, looking back with the fullness of time.
Yes.
Okay. And you chose the Army.
No, I chose the Air Force.
That's right. You chose I'm sorry about that. Otherwise, you don't get into the jets. You got into the Air Force. Now, when you get into the Air Force, do they tell you where do you have any control over what happens to you after you're in?
Because I was, I had glasses. My eyesight would not qualify me for either pilot or navigator. So that's all they were taking as far as officers at that time. So I went enlisted, and I went in as what we call a Remington Raider. It was a clerk typist, and so that's where I was. I was enlisted.
You're going to ride a desk, typing reports wherever they sent you.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Were you married at that time?
Yes, I was. I got married in 1970. Went in the service in 72.
So, honey, let's go. I'm going to go wherever they send me, and you're probably going to. And now, I didn't get a chance to read all of your book, but some of it. And one of the themes that I see throughout this is poverty, right? I mean, because no matter where you go, they're not giving you much to live on. And so, so you take your young bride. Any kids at that time?
I had one when we went to first, and then had the second one in Washington, D.C.
Okay, so just tick off all the places you lived in the service.
Oh, gosh.
How many are there?
Oh, well, I think I had about 15 moves throughout.
Okay, so 15, and how long were you in the service?
22 years.
Okay, so about every year and a half.
Year and a half, yeah.
Wow.
So I was in Washington, D.C., of course. I was in Biloxi, Mississippi a couple of times, 3 times actually. I was in San Antonio twice for training. I was in Illinois at Scott Air Force Base with our headquarters up there. I was in northern Michigan, right off Lake Superior. Have you seen the Atlas? I could never get west of the fold in the Atlas. It was always off to the right. So
wait a minute. Well, you started out in
DC.
Oregon. You started out in Oregon, then they kicked you over to the other side of the Mississippi, and you probably
exactly
hung
out
over there.
I was over there all the time.
So if you're on a base, you're not really living in that town per se. You're just living in a base, and the weather changes. Am I right about that? It's hard to really know what the community is like.
It depends on where you are. When I was in training, of course, you couldn't have time to rent your own house and all of that. So there was a lot of on-base housing. And so that's where we lived. In northern Michigan, when I was up there, it was so rural that the only thing that you really had was on base. And
if you could go back and say, I'd like to go visit some ghosts, what town would you go to?
That would be either of my overseas postings. One was Thule, Greenland. The other was Korea. Thule, which isn't even called Thule anymore. It's called Patufiq, which is named after the Inuit village that it's by. And
was Thule? Was that like a person?
Thule was, I don't know what its original name came from, but it was built in about 3 years, just after World War II, to give us a place to watch over the horizon.
So your job in Greenland is to look for incoming, missiles. Is that what that is?
Yes.
Okay.
We had two missions. We said, look, here they come, and then turn around and say, duck.
And then it's somebody else's job to send the respondent.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And what are they? A mutual assured destruction. MAD.
Yes. Yeah.
And I mean, it's like you're living in a Catch-22 movie, right? It's like you're living in Doctor Strange glove, right? So
yeah.
Do you see that as nerve-wracking, as absurd, as what did you see your service as in those times of the Cold War?
It was an interesting place and time to be because, of course, when you were a kid, you were taught to if something happened, you were supposed to crawl under your desk.
Yes, duck and cover.
Yeah, duck and cover. And knowing that now that there's absolutely no use that would be, but the jobs that I had were kind of assurance that we had the communications, we had the eyes, if you will, we had the ability to command. That's what that airborne command post was. It was a general staff officer posting where we would be in the air for 12 hours a shift and have a full staff. So if something happened on the ground, we took over command. And we could.
And what kind of vehicle? What kind, are you in a B-52? What are you in?
It's an EC-135. It's a variant on the KC-135 platform. It's a Boeing 707.
Now that's the language I heard. All right, it's Boeing 7. Okay, yeah, okay,
yeah.
And is it? Does it have like the big disc on top to see as
no,
like the radar?
No, that's a different plane. That's called the AWACS. It's,
okay, yeah.
It's just another surveillance plane.
So
ours is more command.
Okay, all right. So basically, a flying office that's harder to get hit theoretically if they decide to attack. Okay.
Yes.
And so that means that I would say you're kind of like the vice president, sort of, right? If the president if the guy on the ground gets assassinated, suddenly you're in charge. Is that fair to say? Okay.
Yes. Well, we had the ability to actually talk to all the forces, and we had people certified to launch missiles from the air. So we would talk to the missile sites and stuff. Every shift, we'd check in with one of the missile sites.
And what years was this? What years was this then?
I was on that plane from 84 to 87, but the actual mission started out in the 60s and went through the 90s.
So 84 to 87, we're not to Gorbachev yet, are we? So we're still kind of, there's some saber rattling. Am I right in there?
Yeah.
Is that duty? That would be interesting. It's pretty hard to be on the edge of your seat for 12 hours. But is that? I mean, is it a grueling? Is it hard?
Yeah. My job there was as a communications officer, and I was in charge of the radio operators and those people that would actually talk to the missile sites and stuff. So that was my job.
I remember reading along that somebody saw like a flock of geese coming over, and they said, "Oh, this is a formation," and everybody was on red alert. And I realized it was a dud. But I imagine in your position, occasionally, like the technology, there's a glitch, and somebody doesn't get back to you in 30 seconds because something's wrong with their speed. Oh, okay, let's ramp up to Alpha 4 or whatever. What are the stages again? Maybe I'm trying to remember my scary movie stories. What are the
defense conditions?
Yes, DEFCON. Is that right? Defense. That's right.
Yeah, DEFCON.
What are those levels, by the way?
Oh, heavens. I've slept since then. Let's see. Well, DEFCON 1 is the biggie, so I'm sure there are others.
Is that so? I thought it went, so 1 was the beginning stage and went to DEFCON. That's the other way around. DEFCON 1 is the top.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. I was never into it in the weeds. Fortunately, we were never faced with that.
How stressful is that gig?
Very.
Is it?
Yeah. It's a 12-hour shift, but you've got 3 hours on each side getting prepared for flying, and then handing it off to somebody else. And, you got about 2 hours after the flight, after you land. So, I mean, it was probably a 15 or more hour day. And yes, it was very, very, very stressful.
You were in Greenland. Greenland's in the news these days. What is Greenland? What is Greenland like from your perspective? Just give me a quick paragraph or so on Greenland itself.
Greenland is one of the most beautiful places on Earth. You could go up to the top of Mount Dundas or J Mountain, and you look down into the fjords, and you could follow a iceberg down probably 30 or 35 feet. The water was so clear. I think the high temperature, at least when I had been there, was, I don't know, 63 or something like that. And we had one day that it was 85 below, and that was the ambient temperature. And the base commander said, if anybody is out of their billet anytime, I will court-martial them. So,
because it's like a death
sentence. Stay where you
almost.
are.
Yeah.
I mean, you could freeze in minutes. You know.
Do planes go up in that kind of temperature?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, I don't know whether they would fly right then.
But you went up year round.
But it was. Yeah. Now, I wasn't flying out of Thule. Okay, I was flying out of Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota. I was flying out of Omaha.
No,
I was flying out of Minot. Yeah.
That's when you were doing the Strategic Air Command stuff. Out of Ellsworth and those places?
Out of Ellsworth, yeah.
How does Thule come in here then?
That was before I was posted as an air crew, yeah.
What did you do in Thule?
I was a communications officer. I was in charge of the air traffic controllers and the switchboards and stuff like that.
Okay.
Because we still had to keep in touch with the world.
Have you talked to anybody? I said go back and visit ghosts. Have you talked to anybody, and has it functionally changed since back then or not?
Yeah, because when I was there, it was all under Strategic Air Command, which was the big guy. And since then, they've broken off. Strategic Air Command is no longer. It's now Strategic Command, which is a joint service instead of just a single service. And it's broken off like Thule now, or Patufic is under the Space Command, which is the newest command. So it would be a whole lot different.
The Space Force.
Yep, Space Force. Yep.
So I just was at a concert where they sing the different, if you were in this branch of the service, you stand up, you know what I'm talking about, where they sing Anchors Away and they sing, Up We Go, Wild Blue. And I said, is there a Space Force version? And the guy said, yeah, it's a little campy. I said, what does that mean? He says, well, we're trying to find a better, version of it.
Yeah.
It's the new one. And
it's the new guy on the block.
It doesn't have enough gravitas for enough circles of people. So
no.
And you were in Korea. Why would you go back and visit there to see the ghosts?
I love Korea. Korean people are just wonderful people, and it was just a nice place. I was there. Unfortunately, we were restricted to the base most of the time because the president of the Republic of Korea had just been assassinated. So we were pretty much locked on base. We could get off, but not real freedom like we had before the assassination.
Was your wife allowed to go to Greenland or to Korea with you?
No.
Yeah.
Those were both remotes.
How much of your time in the service was away from your family?
About a third of it. But around 7 years between remote assignments and Well, like in the last 4 years of my service, I was in training and then I went to Omaha, but we already had a house in Rapid City. So I sent the family to Rapid City so my youngest daughter could be in one high school over her career.
I was going to.
And my other daughter went to School of Mines. So we had a place to live, which saved us a whole lot. So I'm sorry.
So of the 7 years away from your family, a lot of that was when your kids were still in the house, right?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Yep.
Talk about that. That is a sacrifice you don't really think, when people think about military sacrifice, they usually think of, war and, injury. But that's another kind of sacrifice, isn't it?
Yeah. No, probably the best decision I ever made in my life was choosing the woman that I married. I was married for 50 years before she passed because of cancer. But she is the one that is mostly responsible for the way my daughters turned out. Because
how many daughters? Tell me how many.
Two
daughters.
Yeah, and one went to School of Mines, and she's a mechanical engineer, and the other is a nurse.
Your wife's name?
Glennis. Oh, my wife is K-A-Y.
How'd you meet her?
We were high school sweethearts.
Oh, in Oregon.
And out in Oregon. We went to a Christian high school, and I don't know why, God's green earth, she chose me, but she was the pretty one, and I wasn't.
You were the penguin.
Yeah, I was the penguin. It's exactly right. Yeah. So I don't know. We just happened to glom onto each other, and it was the best decision I ever made in my life. Yeah, because she's the reason my girls turned out the way they did.
How do you find that person, do you think? Do you have any advice on that? Did you just totally luck into that? I mean, there's a lot of people. It's hard till you figure out how you're going to spend your life with. That's a rough.
Yeah. Well,
do you have any insight? Yeah.
Well, especially in a military situation.
Many military families have divorce. Many. Yeah. It's pretty common.
Yeah, it is. To be married 50 years to the same woman in the military is phenomenal. Do I have any? No. You just have to make sure that you know that you each have a place in life, and it's not always I'm the one in charge. And you play that off. Like when I was gone for a year, I mean, she was husband, father and mother. So when I came back, it was a little bit odd because now I had the fatherly duties, and it was hard for her to pass off some of those to me. I mean, we didn't have I can't remember a good fight that we had over 50 years. So
is your memory that poor?
Yeah. Probably. Yeah. Like I say, I've slept since then. But she was a woman of prayer, and that got us through most everything. So.
You were no. I've been in the White House. I think as a kid, 16, some sort of tour they take in the periphery. But you were inside the fence. I mean, your office was on the White House grounds, right?
Yes, that's correct. There was the White House itself, and then the old executive office building is what they called it when I was there, old EOB. And that's where the vice president had his office, or one of his offices, over there in the old EOB. In fact,
is that attached to the White House, or is it a building behind it?
It's a building beside it, actually.
I see.
And it's a monstrosity. I remember they were talking about, well, we need to take down the old EOB and replace it with a new office building. And they said it would take so many millions of dollars just to tear the thing down that they figured they'd better off just put some money back into it, you know. So
it's not an attractive building.
Well, I mean, it's an old granite monstrosity. Yeah.
And so you would drive to work to the White House. They'd open the gates. You drive in. Is that right? I mean, how did that work?
Yeah, we actually parked on it's called the ellipse, which most pictures you see from the south looking at the White House through that fence. We're actually behind that on there were a parking lot designated for staff out there.
What do you wear to work? Do you wear a uniform every day?
I could not wear a uniform downtown. I was prohibited from doing that because we were still coming off of the I hate Vietnam and all of that stuff. So I was unable to wear it. So they gave us an allocation every year for sports jackets and civilian clothes.
Probably still stuck out like a sore thumb, right?
Yeah. You know, high and tight doesn't cut it too much.
not in the middle 70s.
Yeah.
Think of Sonny and Cher. Everybody looks like Sonny, and you're still looking like.
Let me tell you a quick story. When I was working in the old EOB, we had to get all of our supply support out of Anacostia Naval Station. And so we would call down and they'd bring it up, and then we'd have to run down to the thing and pick it up. Well,
this is nearby Anacostia Naval. Where's this at now?
We're still down to Anacostia Naval Station. Would bring it to the White House.
Okay, and Anacostia is nearby.
Yeah, not too far. It's just outside the Beltway.
Okay,
and so I had the general had needed some butcher paper, so I ordered some butcher paper. Anacostia brought it down. I went down to pick it up, threw it over my shoulder, and it was just the huge butcher paper thing, and it was I don't know, 60, 75 pounds. So I threw it over my shoulder, tried to wind my way through the swinging doors, and I heard somebody say, "Are you going up?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And so I got in there, got in the elevator, turned around, and it was Spiro Agnew holding the door for me.
Wow.
He was a vice president at the time. And I thought, man, that's pretty cool.
So, I mean, you're 6'1". How big is Spiro Agnew?
I don't know. I don't remember.
You remember, like, you look, hey, Spiro. What do you say? You just freeze up. I mean, so you're in the so you see Spiro Agnew. Of course, he's in the latter part of the Nixon administration.
Yes.
Did you see Nixon?
Yes. Yeah, I had a reception at Christmas, and Nixon was serving the eggnog. So
Richard Nixon poured you a glass of eggnog.
Exactly. Yes.
That's not bad.
No.
I mean, it's historical.
Yeah.
I mean, and I mean historical because, the whole impeachment, the whole everything, right? I mean, so you're in that. I mean, it's not your job, but certainly people are talking about this the whole time, right? What was the vibe like in that room, in that area?
It was tense. Nobody was real sure what was going to happen, of course. And I don't know, it was just an interesting time. I mean, I was just, a lowly airman, so I didn't really have much, much stake in the politics, obviously.
How old were you?
Well, let's see, 24 maybe.
Yeah. 24-year-old kid. And then Ford came on. Were you there? You were there for Ford?
Yes.
Did you meet him?
Yes.
Who served the eggnog better? Nixon or Ford? Ah.
I wasn't there for a
Oh,
reception with him. No, no,
how did you ever
but
have any interaction with him?
not much. I was the project officer to put in the new swimming pool communications when they had on
Because
the
he
new pool
swam
put in.
laps in the morning. Is that right? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, he had a regular regimen. Yeah.
yeah.
Huh.
The
Well,
old
okay.
swimming pool was inside the White House. This one was outside the White House.
Okay. Alrighty. So, I mean, okay, you're a 24-year-old kid, but you know that you're in the White House and there's the president, and obviously you know you're going to get grilled, and you yourself are part of history. You're taking notes, right? I mean, whatever kind of periphery you got, it's what you have. Describe for me the White House itself. What's it like? What's your takeaway? What's your vibe?
Um, it was an awesome place. Of course, we were restricted to just a couple of the wings there. I mean, we didn't go wandering through the White House, but we were like the reception was in the East Wing and or West Wing. I don't remember. Anyway, um, so we didn't really have free run of the White House, but it was a beautiful place.
So, and I'm sure I know this has happened, Alan. You're watching movies. Oh, I've been there. I've been there.
Yeah.
I know what that's like. So, and the same for it. Tell me a movie, a military movie, that best lays out what it was like. Not necessarily the plot, just good cinematography. It's the plane. You just say, "Yep, yep." Whoever advised on this movie, they got it right.
Did you see Dave? The movie
Dave.
Dave.
I did not see the movie Dave.
Okay, the plot of this is there was a comedian that looked like the president, and all of a sudden the president was had a stroke or something, and so they put him in the basement, pulled this comedian in to be the president, and nobody knew the difference, and so he was walking through the White House, Oval Office, and all of that. That was all pretty much good. But Dave is a good movie.
Okay. Who is in Dave? I don't even remember this movie at all.
I'm trying to think of who. I can't remember the actor's name. But
We'll pull it up on post.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
Booker's job. He'll make this look good. In fact, he's scrambling around right now trying to find all of this stuff. In
He's
fact,
trying
let's
to find a
just
picture
say,
of the old EOB.
yeah. Let's see if we can stump the band a little bit. Tell them what the uniform you wore, and I'll have to pull that up. No, I'm kidding. So, what movie is a best representation of the Strategic Air Command?
The movie called Strategic Air Command. And it was in the 50s. I think it was Gregory Peck. I'm
Nice.
not. I don't remember.
Did Gregory Peck have your job? Because that would be cool.
No, he was like a wing commander or something like that. So, yeah, strategic.
I
command.
gotta think that when you get on that plane, you have a tendency. Does your voice try to just lower half an octave? Yes.
Yeah.
Colonel Buhler. Yeah.
Most of my stuff was ARU, which it means I acknowledge receipt and understanding of your command. so
it's like 10-4? 10-4.
Yeah, like 10-4. Yeah.
RAU.
Yeah, only we didn't use 10-4.
No, yes. All right. Why would you use that? RAU.
Yeah.
All right.
Alpha Romeo uniform.
So you're not piloting the plane, but you're giving instructions for the plane to take off and do all of that stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, we had a general officer, and of course the general officer was in charge, and he'd say, "Okay, we'll leave now" and stuff. So I was running the communications people who had to keep in contact with ground forces and the other airplanes that would have been in the air.
So I just want to, okay, I'm going to pretend that I'm with you on this plane.
Okay.
And you're on the duty. And all of a sudden I see a suspicious projectile showing up on the radar. And I say that to you. What do you say?
At that point, the planning staff would scramble, and probably they wouldn't be the first ones to see it. NORAD would be the first ones to see it because they've gotten it from whomever, naval forces or Thule, Greenland, or whatever.
And then you get that communication how?
By radio.
And then what do you do? What do you do when you get that? What do you say?
You wait for instructions from the president.
Okay. And the president says, we'll just do a scenario here. It looks like the base has been hit.
Okay.
What do you say now?
Then our general staff would decide whether they had the authority to take over. If the president gave them authority, they would take over the forces. But they couldn't do that on their own unless they were completely out of communications with anybody on the ground.
I once talked to a truck driver who's put 1 million miles in his truck.
Mm-hmm.
No accidents. And he said it's because the whole time I was on the road, I was defensively driving, meaning that there's a cusp of trees up here that's most likely for deer to come out this time of day. Watch out for the deer. It's a 15-degree grade right now, so if something happens, I'm not taking that ditch, I'm taking this ditch. If this car gets a flat tire, do this and this and this. So your job is to get on that plane and go, okay, I sure hope this doesn't happen, but if this happens, I got to do this, then I got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. And that's why it's kind of stressful, isn't it?
Yes, and the best scenario in that is that nothing will happen. So, you hope nothing happens.
What a strange life to be on the edge of your seat watching nothing happen. Right? And did I hear that this caused amount of post-traumatic stress? Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I would say that people that are actually in combat have a certain amount of PTSD from the things that they see. And people like me in my situation have a certain amount of PTSD from things that they don't see.
There was I found out this man's story. He was like a 27-year-old kid. He was a captain, and he was around, just minding his business when Kennedy was assassinated, and suddenly he was in charge of everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, he had to have all branches of the service. He had to take care of everything. He had to do the protocol. He had to do everything, and the whole city was locked down. And it took him, he died. It took him a week to die. He had a heart attack because of the stress of that. Mm-hmm. It just crushed him. But because of the situation, no one was allowed, and he wasn't allowed. There's no way out. He sat on his bunk, and just the pressure crushed him.
Mm-hmm. And
the interesting thing about that is that nowhere is he really listed, because everything's it's huge. Kennedy, and there's just like maybe this tiny little story, this backstory of the casualty of the time. Now, that wasn't your situation, but it's kind of your situation, right? It's a sure tell relative of that.
Yep. Yep. We were fortunate that nothing catastrophic happened on my watch.
So when did you get out of the service?
In 1994, was just part of my God story.
Before I let you leave the service, can I just ask, what was the best part about being in the service and what was the worst part?
Best part was serving under some phenomenal people like Admiral Crowe and Colin Powell.
Did you meet these guys?
Yes, both
Oh.
of them. Yeah.
Colin Powell.
And it's interesting that we think of Colin Powell when he would walk down the hallway, people would just stop and give him space to go where he needed to go. It was like you would see, like you would think about royalty. Okay, you would think about it's his time to be there. And so he would walk down the hall and everybody would go to the sides and just wait for him. Okay.
Like the old Dick Tracy cartoon where and all the cars move off to the side and the cops go. Yeah, okay, that kind of. Colin Powell coming through.
Yep.
Did he ever shake your hand or talk to you?
Yes. In fact, after I had retired and after he had retired, we met at a service station. He was filling up one of his classic
Now we're
Volvos.
talking a gas station. You're talking a gas station, right? Not a You're at a gas station.
At a gas station, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he says, "I remember you." And I said, "Yeah, I've used to, speak to you, brief you, and stuff like that." So he remembered me. I was surprised because
so you got that going for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's nice. So in a way, through what do they say, degrees of separation,
mm-hmm.
I can now tell people that I know Spiro Agnew, Nixon, Ford, and Colin Powell.
There you go.
There you go. That should get me a cup of coffee if I pay $2. There we go.
I tell you what, I'll buy you a cup of coffee when I come out there.
Whoa. So who's the most interesting person you met? I mean, those are the most famous people, but who's an interesting character you went like, wow, that guy is interesting? And it can be good or bad. It can be like, well, this guy's scary. It can be good. Who do you like?
One of my commanders, who I will leave unnamed, came in to take over the unit I was with, and I was his deputy commander, and his feeling was that he says, "Well, you just think of me as Jesus and you're Moses." I go, "This is going to be an interesting assignment."
My dad was in the military. My grandfather was in the military. My dad did not like it.
Yeah.
And I asked him about it. He said, because you don't pick your bosses. And you got to do what they say. And there really isn't any way to say anything back. And he just didn't like some of the people he worked for. Yeah. And I heard another person say, here's what's great about the military. You don't have to think. Only one person has to make the decision. And you just have to follow their directions. So if you're okay with that, it's kind of cool because you don't have to, you have no skin in the game. You just do exactly what you said. And they tell you that because that's how it works better. But if you can't do that, it's kind of rough, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, you were talking about your dad in the service. My dad was in the service too. He was in World War I, World War II. when they took the Philippines. He was a Navy medic. And
Oh
so,
my! Oh
so
my!
yeah. So you talk about PTSD. He was your poster child.
Did he ever talk about that?
Only in his last part of his life. I think he wanted to. I think he thought that I was the only one that would really understand, because I was in the military, and so he talked about it. In fact, he wrote a lot of stuff about his time, and I have that now written by him about some of his experiences in the Navy. Not good.
I talked to a guy 101 years old 3 days ago who was a Navy medic on Iwo Jima. He was sharp guy. And this is I asked if he had any stress from that. He said no. I think that was a conscious decision to just not dwell on that and flush that. Now, since then, Alan, I've been really, really struck with veteran service, especially when combat is involved, because some people, it seems to somehow take a person who's kind of meandering through life and galvanize them in a way that their future trajectory is quite remarkably good.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, it seems to just like crush their soul. And you can't, and you'd say, well, it's the nature of the person. No, I think it's maybe the nature of the circumstances as well, right? Interesting, right?
A lot of it is typified by the two different tracks of people that came out of Vietnam, because the country was not behind the Vietnam soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And so they didn't feel like they were appreciated, and that really took a toll on them. That, you mean I did all of this and trudged through all of those jungles, and nobody appreciates it. And then there's others that came out and thought it was a wonderful thing. A friend of mine was a chaplain's assistant, and he had really good things to say about it.
I remember my social studies teacher was a Vietnam vet, and he said that it was, the thing that they don't say is that it's just a bunch of young guys goofing around, having fun. I mean, they're just you put a bunch of 20-year-olds with too much time on their hands, and they're just going to find ways to pal around and have fun. So that was a lot of it. And then there was the other part of it, which was the combat. So it's this really interesting blend that it tattoos on them a permanent part of who they are.
Yes.
And it's like a noticeable, irreversible part of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can forget maybe the high school you went to. You can maybe forget the college or the first couple of jobs. But if you served in the military and saw any sort of stress in that, one way or the other, your stress or combat stress, one of the two, or either or, maybe additional stuff, it just marks you. It marks you.
Yes.
Okay. Well, a life has many chapters, and we'll put that section aside. You get out of the service, and then you decide to get back into teaching.
Yeah. Originally from Oregon, when I was getting out of the service, I made a appeal to the Oregon Department of Education and said I'd like to reactivate my teaching certificate, and they said sure. You just need to take 182 semester hours of this, and this, and this. And I'm going, I don't think so. So I came to South Dakota, and they said, oh, you're a service member? Yeah. Okay, you have a degree? Yeah. Okay, here's 8 hours that you need to take in Indian studies and human relations and stuff like that.
High five, baby. Woo!
You bet.
So,
I'll
by the
take it.
way,
So-
and what was English one of your sections, or no?
No, I taught computers. I taught math, algebra, keyboarding, and theater.
Do you have to bite your tongue when somebody says, "Oh, you're from Oregon"?
Mm-hmm.
What do you say? Do you go?
The classic where Mark Hatfield was the governor of Oregon, and he was being introduced by LBJ, and you've probably heard this one.
No, I can't wait though. LBJ. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, and he says, "Our esteemed governor from Oregon," and Mark Hatfield got up. He says, "Thank you, Mr. President, from Texas." I think he got his point across.
Were they not in the same party? I wonder if he would do that if he was in the same party. I don't know.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Hilarious. So you're in.
LBJ was Democrat, and Hatfield was Republican.
Okay, there you go. That's why you can get away with that.
Yeah.
So that's hilarious. So you have some South Dakota roots because you lived practically everywhere. You said Ellsworth Air Force Base, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
you're familiar with Rapid City. So that is that where you're at right now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Just outside of Rapid City. Yeah. Between Rapid and the base is where I live.
So thanks to the, I would say, common sense of South Dakota,
Yes.
why not? I mean, what? Okay. Just side note. Hello, people. You can get an education in life skills. Why wouldn't you want a guy who had his degree and then moved on to get other life experiences that you would never experience? Why wouldn't you want that guy in your classroom? Is my side note to the education people who are watching right now from the great state of Oregon. Okay. All right. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to get off my steps to now and say, hey, thank you for that, because we got a good guy in South Dakota, which is where I live right now, and we're happy for that. Okay, so now, is that was that career more or less fulfilling than your military career?
Well, my wife always said, just think of these students as your airmen, only smarter. And that was middle schoolers. I think I impacted a lot of people in my service, but I think I impacted a lot of kids more because over 20 years, basically, of teaching, I encountered thousands of kids. And wasn't always good interaction, but for the most part, it was very positive. So.
What's your style? You a suit and tie guy? You attention? Do you sit down? Do you stride up and down with a riding crop? What's your style?
No, not that kind of guy. No, I was, I don't know, probably pretty loose for a ex-colonel, but it worked all right. So.
And you're retired out of that, or you still do it?
No, I retired in 2013.
Yeah. If you could
happily retired for 13 years now.
So I'm going to give you I'm going to give you 2 job titles. Congratulations. They won't take very long. I'm going to give you the Czar of the military, and I'm going to give you the Czar of education. As the Czar of the military, you're allowed to make one sweeping change that you think that is so obvious. Why wouldn't we do this? And as the Czar of education, you're allowed to do the same thing. And I do believe that this will be heard by people who have the authority to implement what you suggest. So think carefully. And whenever you're ready, it required no thought on my part. I'm just going to sit back and wait for you to
Okay,
enlighten me.
as czar of the military, you have to think about your people. That is probably the thing that a lot of times really gets left out. The higher echelons think, well, I'll just implement this, and whatever falls out, falls out. But a lot of times, what they say and what they intend, I'm sure they intend for good, but a lot of it times it doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense at the lower echelons. So,
Can
I
you
think,
give an example of that?
well, pay for one thing. The pay is so out of kilter right now. They're trying to make amends to that, and trying to raise the pay for the lower enlisted. But there's been such a gap for so long that it's going to take a while to get that. I mean, and obviously they have different jobs and different responsibilities, so a difference in pay is to be expected. But you have to have, well, you can't have airmen that have to qualify for food stamps just to eat, to keep their families going. And we do have that.
I would also add to that a Pentagon budget is usually about the stuff and the machinery, and they like that stuff and the machinery. And then people become part of the machine. I tell you what, they brand them deep. When you're in the service, you are loyal to the service your whole life. It just seems that way.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't really do much when you get out. After you're out, they're kind of done with it. There's I shouldn't say that as a blanket statement, but I think we could do more for people after they leave the service of their country, and not just kind of let them float out there and hope that a volunteer organization steps up.
I have seen a lot of improvement in the Veterans Administration over the last 10 years.
Oh, that's good.
They have done amazing for me. I'm very, very pleased with the care that I get through the Veterans Administration. I mean, they took care of me through not hip, but knee replacement, and a year of cancer treatments and stuff like that. So they've done really well for me. Now, other people don't have the same experience, or they don't give them the credit that they deserve. But for me, they have done just a wonderful job. So yeah, are there things that could be better? Sure, always is. But for the most part,
now that I've gotten you out of the czar of the military,
yeah,
now you're the czar of education. All right.
Education picks up where the parents leave off. So many times we would sit in dealing with disciplinary actions from kids that go right back to parenting. And you can't stand there and tell the parent, you did a lousy job. But if we could have, as part of our education system, parenting hooks to let the people know that, if you have a kid that sits at home and scrolls on their phone all the time and then comes to class, it's hard to get a hook to teach them something, because they're saying, well, can we be done with this so I can go back to my phone? So I think a lot of the education has to be the parents telling their kids that it's important. And a lot of times you don't get that.
Everybody, I think, has this imagination. They say, okay, I'm going to go into a doctor's office and it's going to be a while. And he or she's going to come in and sit down and say, you have cancer. And everybody, I mean, like, you can't live in this world that we're in right now where you go, oh. What is that like?
Well, I've had that 3 times in my life. I had a granddaughter that was diagnosed with leukemia at 2. In fact, that's the reason I got out of my education. I happened to be walking into the office ready to sign my contract for the following year. And at that point, my wife had called me and said, your granddaughter has leukemia. And so I handed the contract back and I says, I'm not signing this. I'm retiring. So I quit teaching so that I could be available for my granddaughter.
How old was she?
She was 2 and a half.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Little cutie.
And yeah, she's happily living her life now at 16. So.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And then I had, I have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which they say you will always have, but it probably won't kill you. But
that's reassuring.
Yeah. So I was diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Yeah, and so I'm still here. So.
So I mean, talk about DEFCON 1, right? Yeah. when you get stage 4, I mean, if I understand right, stage 4 is you've got this and you'll never get rid of it, and you will always have it, but we think we can kind of stave it off for a while. Is that fair?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it ever roll back? Do they ever say, hey, wait, we were wrong. It's now stage 1. Congratulations. No.
Well, yeah, the stages, there's many reasons why they come up with these stages. Okay. And some of it is the severity of it in one place, and the others, the severity of it because it's in several places in your body. And that was what mine was. So, and then the next time was my wife. She thought she had just a sore stomach for a while, and it ended up being cancer. And so 6 months after she found out, she was gone. So
what cancer?
It was a tumor on the spine, liver, kidneys, pancreas. And it was just at a point where they just couldn't alleviate it all. So she says, I know where I'm going. Don't worry about it. So
and sometimes people who have these say that they never really have pain, and some people have terrible pain.
Yeah. She was the hospice nurse came in one time and she says, well, before I go, is there anything else you need? And she says, I don't know. I've never died before. So she had a good attitude about it, but it was tough. We were 3 weeks away from our 50th anniversary. So
I visited a friend of mine in hospice, and she had ataxia, which means that her brain was fine, but it was locked in a system that just couldn't communicate.
Sure.
So it affected her speech. I looked at the menu that they gave, and it's just like every day it just repeated, like every 2 days.
Yeah.
I said, this menu seems to be a little bit repetitive. And she says, it doesn't seem to be a problem around here. So she too had that. And I had a chance, Alan, to be at her funeral. And I said, you know, I once went on one of these challenges where you face your fears, and I don't like heights. I was to climb a phone pole and stand on a phone pole and then jump off the phone pole. Of course, you're all rigged up. It's all safe, but it doesn't feel that safe. Well, I didn't realize that there were two stages to that. So I'm climbing all the way up until I get to where I actually have to stand on a post about like this big around, and it's wobbling. And I'm not that athletic, and I couldn't even get on. Anyway, I just gave up and jumped off. Well, that was the first stage. The other stage was that a friend of mine who's quite athletic was able to easily stand on that post, but then he couldn't jump. He just couldn't do it. At that moment, he couldn't do it. And the person who came after him said, "Oh, I get it." And so they did it all in once. They just jumped and jumped. So he taught them how to jump. And the reason I say that is that woman taught me how to jump, right? I saw her leap with joy into the arms of Christ. I was paying attention.
Yep. Well, that's good.
And that would be, that was. How long has your bride been gone?
She died in 2020, so just 6 years. Just almost 6 years now.
This chapter you're in now, how do you find value and purpose in it?
Love getting with my family. Last year we took a trip to Kansas City, and we just wandered around museums and got some good barbecue, and sat around the fire and sang songs, and it was just beautiful. So that's one of the things that I liked.
You said you wanted me to cover a couple of questions. The first is the best personal decision. I'm going to assume that was K, right?
That was K. Okay. That was K. Yeah, because I wouldn't be anywhere that I am if I hadn't met her, I think.
And the second question, how have you seen God directing things in your life and career?
Oh, man. Just from the fact that I got into the military.
Now, I'm surprised that your dad didn't try to talk you out of it.
Well, coming from a Mennonite Brethren background, he was an oddball because he went in the service, which is not necessarily along with the tenets of the Mennonite faith.
They would be conscientious objectors, probably,
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Which he kind of was because he was a medic, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But he didn't dissuade me from doing that. I don't know. And then when I was just getting ready to get out of the service, I had gone home for what they call terminal leave, and to go back to leave the service. And they had said, "Well, why don't you pull your papers, your retirement papers, and we'll send you to England to close out a communication site over there." And I said, "I got to talk to my wife first." And we decided that, no, that probably wasn't good, because I'd do that for 18 months, but then I'd have 2.5, 3 years yet that they could, send
pull
me
you back in
somewhere else. So we decided not to do that, which was great because, well, the timing was such that my father-in-law had a stroke, and so needed some help, and that was out in Oregon. So I was free to go out and take care of them. And then later, when I was in school, it was just absolutely a God wink thing that I walked into the office and got the phone call. Otherwise, I would have signed up for the next year, and it would have cost me $500 to cancel that. So that was good. And then my dad had his physical problems, and he passed away within 18 months of that. So um, it was just all in the right timing. And it's not something that anybody could script, you know. So it was
So this,
for a Mennonite kid. That's an odd way to be. So, but you said,
well, I'm pointing to these books behind me.
oh, yeah,
What's a good book you've read that you want to recommend to me and our viewers here?
um, I'm looking at one right now.
Here it is. The
It's
Middle
called-
East Conflict.
Yeah, and by John Hagee. He's a pastor.
Uh-huh.
He has a compound on Hawaii for respite for pastors. Okay, he provides them with a place just to unwind, and he is a very knowledgeable about the Mideast. And I had another book. I don't have it handy right here, but the second book was Why Israel, and it's why should we be concerned about the Jews, and why, and it's by I think the organization is CUFI, which is Christians United for Israel, I think, CUFI. And it's why we should be concerned about the Jews and why they're hated so much. And it's a very, very interesting book.
You can go to dinner with anybody in the world today that's alive, but you're buying. Well, you got to pick up the check because they're not going to just go for nothing. But you
Does
get
Jeff
to pick.
qualify? Oh,
I'm going to pick the deluxe place in town. So where are you going to go and what are you going to eat? Are you a
Why?
steak? You look like a steak guy. You look like a guy who likes a steak.
I like steak, but I'm more of a ground beef type.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see,
Cheaper. You save some
who
money.
Would that be? Who would that be?
Did I hear illusions that you were talking about Mr. Rogers as a possibility? Was that right?
Yeah. I know he isn't around anymore, but
What do you like about Mr. Rogers?
he was able to connect with anybody. It didn't matter whether you were Coco the gorilla or the kid on the street or anything.
Yeah, so like if you had lunch with Mr. Rogers, if Fred Rogers was alive, he would actually be at that lunch. He wouldn't be checking his phone. He would actually be in the conversation with you. And I think that's a rare gift. Did you see the movie, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood?
No, I have not. You
should see it. You should see it. Tom Hanks plays Mr. Rogers. Of course, Tom Hanks can do a lot of people.
Yeah.
But that was a great movie. So I kind of jumped your train. Did you find out somebody alive you want to take to lunch?
Oh. I don't know. It might be somebody like Elon Musk.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
To pick his brain about why he is who he is.
Yeah. Right.
Of course, I don't know that I'd have to pick up his tab, but
right. Are you serious? And I've got to pay. Yeah.
I've met a lot of people in my life, and
Right. The presidents. What the heck? You don't need anybody. Like I said, I should be buying you lunch. I can rub elbows with a lot of people in posterity, right? Okay. So, anything else I need to cover here? I haven't gotten to my big question yet. The one where you get to ask me one. What else do you want to talk about? Anything? Do you want to talk? Is your book available, by the way? Can anybody read that book?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
No, not that book.
no,
Your
this one.
book.
My book.
Your
My
book.
book.
Mr. Modesty, you're an author here, for gosh sakes.
I made enough copies for my kids. And,
Okay. It's isn't it an ebook?
um, it's actually in print, and so I gave a print copy to each of my kids and my grandkids.
Now, I read excerpts and it was on a PDF. The reason I'm asking, I could put it in the contacts, put it in, you see when I do this? I don't even know
Yeah.
what this means. What this means when
I
I
don't
do
know.
this.
I don't know. I don't know that I'd want it on that wide a distribution. So
All right. All
I
right.
appreciate it. I appreciate
Limited
it.
release.
Yeah, there you
Limited release. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about, Alan?
go.
Best
No,
advice you ever got?
Best advice I ever got was probably from Colin Powell. He had a card that he gave everybody, and
Do you have this card?
I was going to look for it to bring it here, and I forgot. But rule number 1 is life isn't fair, and if you remember that, everything else falls in place.
I've been quoting one of his rules on a fairly regular basis. Optimism is a force multiplier.
Yes.
And I just love that because, first off, when people say, look at the bright side, we always go, oh, yeah, Mr. Rose-colored glasses. But if Colin Powell says it, and it's a force multiplier.
There you go.
Suddenly you go, yes, it makes it, yes. Nice.
Are you familiar with The Art of War by Sun Tzu?
I actually read it. It's kind of depressing, but yeah, but yes.
They have an audio book, and so it's like an hour or so you can get through it. But that's one of those that I go back to because it's got so many just practical things about if you're in range, so is your if your enemy is in range, so are you. So you have to be careful.
I just was talking to this. I posted this morning on a little coffee talk I do in my shop. But I was talking yesterday to a guy who was in the military in Vietnam, in the Army. And what job did they give him? Running the spotlight. I said, oh no. So he's between these big guns, right? And his job is to run the spotlight. And I said, did you write your mom? Dear Mom, he said, no, I sure did not. I said, Mom, I'm in a really safe spot. I'm in a really safe spot. Although, of course he wasn't. I never even thought about, I guess I just never thought about that as being a job they give you, is the guy behind the biggest, bullseye in the field of battle.
Yeah, usually you want to hide in a situation like that.
They teach you that. They teach you how to hide behind rocks and in barracks. And it's like, but we want on the spotlight and go. So, okay, Alan, this is the time where you get a chance to get even. You can ask me any question you want, any question, but it's only one question. So you have to think very carefully.
Oh,
are you ready
to
ask your question?
I know you said I need to be thinking about that during our discussion, but I got so caught up in everything else. How did you get into your podcasting?
We happen to be in a sea change in many, many different ways, right? So think about newspapers. Well, you need a printing press, and then you need a lot of money, and then you need all those writers, and it's all in one building and it's contained. You want to have a TV station? Well, you got to have a license. Then you have the tower, then you have the cameras, and it's a big expense, and all of this happens. You want to have a radio license? Same thing. Well, with the advent of the internet, all of these very expensive technologies have destroyed these monoliths, and they are crumbling as we speak, which means that everybody gets a microphone, which is both freeing and also a little bit alarming, right?
Yes.
Just because you have the ability does not necessarily mean that you're going to use that ability wisely. You know, is there a billion podcasts? I'm sure there are. Most people start them with this concept, well, I got a lot of stuff to say. No, you got about 10 things to say, then you're on. Most podcasts last about 3 episodes, 6 episodes, and they're done. When we look at, I think we tend to look at current things in relation to the way they were. For example, why is a book this thick? Well, because that is the formats of the printing press. Why is a movie 2 hours long? Well, that's because that's what the audience can stand. What about a TV show? It's a half hour long. How long is a commercial? It's 30 seconds or 60 seconds. All of these were created by what was. A podcast can be anything it wants to be. We say podcast and we think of audio. It doesn't have to be. Can be video, can be text. So I wanted to be, I would say this. When you see a problem in the world that really, really, really bothers you, there's a chance that's your clue. That's why God created you, for that particular problem. And when I see ridiculous conversation, that's just stupid stuff, or inflammatory, or wrong, it bothers me like to no end. It bothers me. So this is why I do it. I feel like I am called to do it, to have meaningful conversations with interesting people about important things. And I'm not doing it for the clicks or the likes or the money.
Yeah.
So when you said that it was possible that you were going to buy me lunch, my eyes lit up. Sweet. No, I can finally pay for something, right?
Yeah, you and your booker and I can go to lunch somewhere.
That's right. So. No, but it's what I'm called to do. And if you're called to do it and you do it, then all is right in the world. And that was a really, really long answer to your question. This is why most people don't interview me, because then they'll go, listen, it's Tuesday. I got to get out of here someday. So, but you asked, and that gave me a chance to do a deeper dive and get on a soapbox at the same time. Did I answer your question, or did I evade it? Okay.
Yeah, all right. I follow one of the oldest podcasts that started 21 years ago, which is the Daily Audio Bible by Brian Hinton.
Okay.
Yeah, Brian Hinton, I think is his last name. Brian Harden. And he reads through an Old Testament, New Testament, Psalms, and Proverbs every day, and then has a little sermonette that goes with that. And he's been doing that every day for 21 years.
Well, as I say, your brain's this big, it only can hold so much.
Yeah.
Same with your heart. When you put something good in it, you're displacing something else, which is bad. And what you're trying to do is pour into your heart good stuff. So I think it's just easier than to say, I got to get rid of that bad stuff. It's much easier to put the good stuff on the top, and then the bad stuff just dispels itself. That's an easier strategy in my experience. Well, what a blessing, Alan. I have no idea how much time has gone by, but I do thank you for your time.
It's fine.
Might be almost 2 hours. Yikes.
An hour 40 maybe.
Oh, all right.
That's all right.
Hopefully they like the long form stuff. We'll see. We'll see. I'll probably get in the comments, less of you, more of him. All right. God bless you, Alan. We'll talk to you down the road.
Well, thank you, Jeff. And I hope to see you soon.